Well, welcome to another edition of Super Low Rent Sports Talk Theater. I'm Joe Ovius.
I'm Chris Clark. How's it going?
As I interrupt you in the middle of your drink. Sorry about that. I won't let that happen again. Where were you last week, dude?
I was in the sphincter of the South, Columbia, South Carolina.
Were you there for the state fair?
No, I was watching South Carolina lose to Vandy. Way to go, Coach.
The old ball coach, man. What the heck is that guy doing? Well, I do appreciate you being able to join us live via satellite, even though we did have some connection problems last week. Do you remember that at all?
Well, it was a pretty serious tailgate. No, I don't actually remember that at all.
All right.
Funny.
Sorry about that. Well, it's funny what people remember and what they don't remember. Like the other old ball coach, Bobby Bowden. This week during conference call, home slates didn't know who his starting quarterback was going to be. Roll the footage.
Well, Xavier Lee is our starting quarterback. He's number one. Number two is Weatherford, and that's the way we'll go. Now, you know, up until 2 games ago, it was Weatherford number one and Lee number two. But now Lee is strongly number one. That was last week. The big news here is that we are going with Drew Weatherford at quarterback, and have Xavier. He'll be number two now.
Chris, this guy, we got serious problems.
What?
We got serious problems when he can't even remember who his starting quarterback is going to be.
I don't blame Bobby Bowden at all. I find it indistinguishable which low-rent FSU quarterback is starting from week to week. Xavier Lee, Drew Weatherford, both are ineffectual at best.
The other interesting thing that happened this week, do you think it'd be better if he just went back to using numbers as opposed to trying to remember their names? Because usually he just goes, you know, that player number 13.
Number 13, number 7, number 42. Who cares? It's a crap team.
Well, let's get to some picking of games. The first one out of the gate will be Wake Forest versus North Carolina. North Carolina coming off a bye week. An interesting week for Butch Davis. It finally came to a head, the rumors about Arkansas. It's a reality that Arkansas is absolutely interested in Butch Davis. The question is how hard they're going to pursue him, how interested Butch Davis is in Arkansas. Either way, he had to answer a lot of questions this week.
He did. He has a close personal friendship with chicken magnate John Tyson, who's also on the Arkansas Board of Governors. And that relationship, plus the fact that he played for Arkansas at one point.
That going home, right?
Yeah.
Isn't there a basketball coach that came home at North Carolina right now?
That sounds familiar.
Yeah, it does. What do you know? Anyway.
It's
funny hearing Butch Davis this week basically dodge the question. At no point did Butch Davis say, no, I'm not interested in Arkansas. All he did was leave wiggle room for the possibility of a jump after 1 year at North Carolina. Does that remind you of anything?
Wiggle room.
Wiggle room.
What the hell is wiggle room?
Wiggle room.
Let me just tell you this. I am thrilled about being here.
Wiggle, wiggle, whoa. Wiggle, wiggle, whoa.
This has been an unbelievable last 10 months.
Wiggle, wiggle, whoa. Wiggle, wiggle, whoa.
And a lot of times it's driven by recruiting interests where maybe they're trying to steer recruits to maybe go some other way.
Wiggle, wiggle, whoa. Wiggle, wiggle, whoa.
Anyway, we're not here to continue speculating on Butch Davis. We're just here to tell you it's going to be a long couple of months. In fact, this story won't go away until the spring or when Arkansas finds a new coach. Now, before you go out and say, well, Joe, Chris, they still have a coach. Houston Nutt. Really? Do they still have a coach?
There's someone occupying the office.
But he's not going to be there for very much longer.
He doesn't like being there, and they don't like him being there. So we'll see how it turns out. In the meantime, don't you go putting this on message boards saying Joe and Chris said something. We didn't say anything. We just gave you the facts.
No, we're just giving you what is available. We're not trying to advance any story, but it is a fascinating discussion that will be here for the next couple of months.
We're just saying.
Just saying. By the way, in the game, because there is an actual game, who do we like? Wake Forest showing that they're not a fluke this season. They bounced back from a kind of a shaky start at the beginning of the year, going up against a North Carolina team that is 2-5, but it's probably the happiest 2-5 I've ever seen a fan base for, be excited about a 2-5 team.
I love it when people come up with bad records and say, we're the best 2-5, 1-6, whatever team out there.
You're still a 2-5 team.
Right.
It's nice and they've made improvements. I understand what we're trying to get at here, but it's still just a 2-5 team. Who do you like?
We like Carolina going to 2-6. We'll pick Wake Forest 24-14. Don't worry, though, Carolina, you're the best 2-6 team in the country.
There's always a bright side to look at. Let's move down the road to NC State. They're back at home at Carter Finley, taking on a Virginia team that, Chris, at 7-1, I think is a team of all smoke and mirrors. They've got a stretch of games where they were barely beating their opposition, but 7-1 is still 7-1. They could very well be the Coastal Division representative when it comes to the ACC championship game. I can't see it happening, but the way things are breaking, it might be the case.
It's entirely possible, and Al Groh has pulled off the greatest magic trick since David Copperfield betted Claudia Schiffer. By the way,
yeah,
don't you hate magicians?
I hate them. Hate them with a passion.
God, if someone could find a way to put Chris Angel and David Blaine in a fiery car accident, I'd be happy.
You just don't want your mind freaks, man. That's what it's about.
My mind is freaked enough by the fact that Virginia is 7-1 and they're going to 8-1 this week as they'll beat NC State by our predicted score of 15-10.
Let's move outside the conference. Let's go on to the Pac-10, where there's an intriguing matchup between USC and Oregon. USC still with one loss, but that one loss to Stanford's really sticking at them right now. Oregon could be a game in which they get back into the good graces of the BCS voters. How do you see this one shaking out?
Well, we're going to go with USC in this game. We think the Trojans are a good team, not a great team, but neither is Oregon. We'll go with USC 28, Oregon 24, and in ugly uniforms.
Ugly uniforms that get paid millions of dollars from Phil Knight, who wants to see those ugly uniforms. Let's move on to the next game. Ohio State, the other undefeated team. Boston College last night staying undefeated in an insane game. They're taking on Penn State. Penn State, the Buckeye Killers this year? What happens?
Ohio State's had trouble in Happy Valley in years past, but we just don't think Anthony Morelli is a good enough quarterback to beat an undefeated team, even if it is at home. We like the Buckeyes to win this one by a score of 21-7.
Last game, a game that, given what we're doing right now, we'd fit in pretty well. It's the world's largest outdoor cocktail party. It is Florida, Georgia. Are we allowed to call it the cocktail party?
Well, we're allowed to.
We're allowed.
CBS
Okay.
can't, but
right.
We'll do whatever the hell we want.
Florida and Georgia, two teams that aren't in the national championship picture anymore, especially Florida after their couple of losses. Either way, it's still an entertaining game, and there's going to be a lot of drunk people there. Mm-hmm. How do we see this one shaking out? It's going to be a lot of that, actually.
Florida and Georgia, we like a BAC of .150. Everybody having a good time.
All right, kids, that's going to wrap up another edition of Super Low Rent Sports Talk Theater. Chris, man, it's mighty awesome of you to actually show up today. Appreciate that.
Yeah, well, I do what I can. And when I don't, you just replace me with a couple of photos and Russ Henry. So
there you go, going smarmy again. Why you got to do that?
Smarmy, sarcasm.
We'll see you next week for a very special Halloween edition of Super Low Rent Sports Talk Theater.